Question 27 is 4/5 divided by 4. Now with this question, what I like to do is write 4 divided by 1. I've not changed the value of this, but I've turned it into a fraction. So what now I have is one fraction divided by another fraction. And with that, we use the KFC rule. KFC. Keep, flip, change. So keep the first fraction the same, flip the second fraction, and change the divide to a times. And we'll do that here. So we keep the first fraction the same, that stays as 4/5. And we flip the second fraction. So the 1 goes to the top and the 4 comes to the bottom. So it becomes 1/4. And we change the divide to a times. And with multiplying two fractions, it's easy. It's simply multiply the numerators and multiply the denominators. So you multiply the numbers at the top and the numbers at the bottom. So we do the fraction line. 4 times 1, which is 4, and 5 times 4, which is 20. I can take this a step further and simplify it. So let's write it here, 4/20. I know that they're both in the 2 times table because they're both even numbers. So that's the easiest way to do it. So I'll divide the top by 2, and whatever I do to the top or the numerator, I have to do to the denominator or the bottom number. So 4 divided by 2 is 2. 20 divided by 2 is 10. Now what I have is 2/10, and I can see straight away that they're both in the 2 times table. So what I'll do is I'll divide the numerator by 2, and whatever I do to the numerator, I have to do to the denominator. I'll divide 10 by 2. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. 10 divided by 2 is 5. And it's 1/5. Now, if I look carefully at this, let me write this here again. 4/20. If I spotted that the 4 and the 20 are both in the 4 times table, I could have divided the top by 4 and the bottom by 4 in one single step. So 4 divided by 4 is 1. 20 divided by 4 is 5. So it gives the same answer. And remember this, keep, flip, change, KFC. It's not the chicken place, it's keep the first fraction the same, flip the second fraction over, and change divide into a times. With question 28, we're given 5/8 divided by 2. So that's a fraction and that's a whole number. Now with these sort of questions, what I like to do is I like to have 2 fractions. So I'm going to divide this by 1. So what I have now is 2 fractions, and it's much easier. And because it's divide, we use the KFC, where you keep the first fraction the same, you flip the second fraction and you change the divide into a times, and we'll do that here. Step 1, keep the first fraction the same, 5/8. Step 2, flip the 2/1, the second part. So the 2 goes to the bottom and the 1 goes to the top. So it becomes 1/2, which is a half. And the third step is to change the divide into a times. So that's what we have now. Now multiplying fractions is probably the easiest one. You multiply the top numbers, the numerators, with each other, and you multiply the bottom numbers or the denominators with each other. So let's draw the fraction line here. 5 times 1 is 5, and 8 times 2 is 16. Question 29, we need to work out 45% of 460. Now with these questions, you must know this. 10%, you simply divide by 10. And 5%, you work out 10% and then you halve it. So what we do is we divide by 10 and then we divide by 2 with this. So let's do this here. 10% is equal to, so now we need to work out 10%. How do we work out 10%? You divide by 10. So 460 divided by 10. Now it's easy this, because there's a 0, we simply cross the 0 off. So it becomes 46. So let's write that here. 460 divided by 10. All you simply do is just cross off the 0. So the answer becomes 46. We want 45%, so let's work out another 10%. Is another 46, and we want 45, so let's work out 40 first. Another 10%, another 10%. So now we have 10, 20, 30, 40%. So we want 5 more percent. Now the question is, how do we work out 5%? So 5% here. Let me write this in words. What we do is work out 10% and then we halve it. Yeah, we divide it by 2. So 10% we know is 46. Now we need to do 46 divided by 2. Let's use the bus shelter. 46 goes inside and 2 goes outside. How many 2's in 4? 2. How many 2's in 6? 3. So our answer is 23. So 5% is 23. Now we simply add all these together. So I know this here is 45%. Now I carefully add these. 6 add 6 is 12. Add 6 is 18. Add 6 is 24. 6, 12, 18, 24. Add the 3, it becomes 27. Put the 7 down. Carry the 2 over. 4, add 4 is 8. Add 4 is 12. Add 4 is 16. So if you look carefully, that's the 4 times table. 4, 8, 12, 16. Add 2 is 18. add 2 more is 20. Put the 0 down and we carry the 2 over to the next column. So there's nothing to do, so we put it straight down. So our answer is 207. So 45% of 460 is 207. Question 30. We're given 2 1/3 plus 5/6. So 2 1/3. Let me just write this here. 2 1/3. This here is called a mixed number because it's got the whole part and the fraction part. We need to turn this mixed number into an improper fraction, and we simply multiply the big number by the bottom number and then add the top number. So it's 2 times 3, which is 6, add the 1, which is 7, and then we draw the fraction line and put the 3 at the bottom. So it's 7/3. So 2 1/3 is the same as 7/3. Add 5/6. Now we see that you have the 3 there and the 6 there. They're both different. So we've got one more step to do. So I need to somehow turn this 3 into a 6. And if I think carefully, if I multiply that by 2, I will get a 6. The rule is whatever number you multiply the denominator by, you multiply the numerator by. So this fraction here, I'm going to write here. 2 times 3 is 6. That goes at the bottom. 7 times 2 is 14. So that's that fraction there. It's 14/6 plus 5/6. Now that's easy because the denominators, the numbers at the bottom, are the same. So I put 6 down and I simply add 14, add 5 is 19. Now what I can do is turn this improper fraction here, let me write that word down, improper fraction. All that means is that the top number is bigger than the bottom number. The numerator is bigger than the denominator. And how do I turn that into a mixed number? I ask myself, how many 6s are there in 19? 6, 12, 18, 24. That's too much. So how many 6s are there in 19? 1, 2, 3. So I put a big 3 there. And how many have I got left over? 1. Because I've used 18 and I need to go to 19. I have 1 remainder. So it's 1/6. So the 6 goes at the bottom. So it's 3 1/6.